Hey there, hello everybody, and welcome to another interesting episode of Bold Conversations with me, Medinat Oyedele. You know what I say about Bold Conversation is about authentic people coming to share real life stories, share their journey with us. It's basically about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I mean, that's what I would say about it. And as you have noticed over the past episode, that there is no episode that look like the others because every person that comes on board here has a unique story, and that is what stands every personality that joins us on this conversation out every time. Today, I have another interesting and bold personality. She is huge. She is huge. She's big. I love what she does. She is that kind of personality that you want to be around every time. I've known her over the years, and when it was time to actually pick a person for this episode, and she came to mind, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's true." And growth has actually happened. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome. So this is my
Thank you for
guest,
having me.
Mutolani Akintayo. I wanted to say Mutolani Alishe, and I remember that Reverend might sue me. So
Oh
thank you so
my.
much for joining. It's been an amazing journey watching you grow. It's interesting to know that from way back, from University of Ibadan, the journey, the process, the growth, the lessons, the
Yeah.
pain, the
Mm-hmm.
trials, the tears, those
Sure.
days of sitting down together and sharing our stories, and we didn't know this is how far the journey will come. I mean, I'm happy doing this with you. I know you personally. I know you. My audience don't know you. So who is Motolani Akintayo?
Okay. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my sister, my friend. People tend to say that old friends are better than new.
Mm,
I'm feeling so at home here because I'm with her.
yeah,
And beyond all the paparazzi that we get to see online, you know that you're
yeah,
with a sister, you're not with a stranger. I have to say
yeah.
that the accolade is not just for me, but also for you. I'm
Thank you.
really inspired by all that you do.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely proud of you. Thank you for, for going the extent to impact lives,
Thank you.
changing the status quo,
Yeah.
and giving a different definition to the education system and to what the society believe about women. So I
Thank
sincerely
you.
love you, and I know that the sky is your springboard. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for bringing me on
so
board, and I
much.
will not take this for granted.
Thank you.
Okay, so who is Motolani Akintayo? Motolani Akintayo. Well, when I stand on the stage, people tend to call me MC Motolani, the clinical psychologist.
Hmm.
Now, I was speaking to somebody in the UK yesterday, and the person was telling me that, do you know that I've always heard people say I am MC this, MC that, or people say I am the clinical psychologist, the doctor, but I've never
Mm.
seen anybody combine two professions into
Everything
one
together.
stage name. Like, you are just so unique in your own way, and
Yeah.
that's me, MC Motolani, the clinical psychologist on stage. However, in the ministry sector, you still hear some people call me Pastor Motolani Akintayo. So if you still decide to say Coach Motolani Akintayo, you are not still wrong, because I'm a professional life coach with the Chartered Institute of Mentoring and Coaching Nigeria. I'm a clinical psychologist. And what else do you want to know? I guess by the time we dig into the program, you get to know the real things.
Oh my God. You wear many caps. How do you do it?
Well, that's a big question. I wouldn't deny the fact that grace is a function. I'm a staunch believer in God. I
Yeah.
can remember that there was a particular time my immediate boss looked at me at some point and said, Mutolani, what's the extra about you? There's just something about you. There's just something special about you. I
Yeah.
said, Sir, it's grace. He said, "Mm-mm, you have labored somewhere. Grace does not stand on its own. You have pressed some buttons. So I want to give credence to grace, and at the same time, I would not also deny the fact that
Hard
it's
work.
also important for us to, yes, apply principles, because principles would always deliver results. And one of the principle is setting certain strategies in place. One of them, good social support. So one of the ways I've been able to pull all those strings together is, number one, I have very good social support when it comes to people around me. Talk about relationships, talk about delegation of duties. You know, these are many more, aside from, of course, God being the major factor. These are many more things that have helped me to, be able to build all of those things together. Of course, planning inclusive. I'm a good planner. I can plan 80
For
years
Africa.
from now, and time management. So these are the things that have helped me to be able to pull all of these things together.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I will ask, does because a fruit does not fall far from the tree. That's what is coming to my mind. And so I want to ask if at any point your childhood had anything to do with what you're doing right now, and what was growing up like for you.
I like the question. I like the question because um my childhood was not entirely so eventful, but I can remember a number of things. And one of them was the fact that I had so many friends that confided in me with their issues. So it's typical that you will see people, Motolani having a lot of friends. Unfortunately for me, I had nobody I could call my friend. I don't know how that happened. When there is a knock at my door, my mom will say, they are asking for Motolani. And by the time the person opens, it's actually Motolani that they are asking for. And then you find me listening to the person and, paying rapt attention and then giving solutions. Even when I got to the university, I can still remember my 100 level. My roommate will say, it's Tolani they are asking for. But then, as much as I had a lot of people around me, I was still very lonely. Like, I didn't have somebody to talk to. So then I could remember that I would pour my energy in poems. I would pour my, even though I was not a clinical psychologist as at then, I would scribble notes on paper. I was just talking to myself a lot of times. So I discovered that a lot of time, especially people in leadership, people at the top, find it very difficult to find people to confide in. One, because confidentiality is cost, and then nobody wants to be seen as a weakling. They need somebody to hear them without being judgmental. So that desire to be a ear, or an ear rather, EAR, for other people's pain gradually grew. I can remember then also that I was a teens counselor very early in my age, and I had young minds promising, some of them leaders' children, pastors' children, who were struggling with pornography, masturbation, relationship issues at that age, but they could not come out to tell anybody because they were scared that they were going to be, condemned or judged. And some of them found their way to me, and I was able to really provide solutions. That gave me joy. So, in my career, when I stumbled on clinical psychologist, I'm like, oh, so there is a profession like this. This is me. So I can say that to a large extent informed my decision about my career today.
Wow. I mean, I remember those days of University of Ibadan where, we just gather in your room and everybody, we can just go on talking from, sometimes we don't even look at time. I remember there was a particular time where it was around 12 a.m. that we realized that, man, we've been talking. And then they moved the meeting to my room after that night. Moved the meeting to my room. So like I said, a fruit does not fall far from the tree, because most times our journey, our processes, our experiences, good or bad, somehow have like those elements that God usually will use in the future that we so desire. So I want to ask, was there any painful experience that actually bettered what you're doing currently.
Yes, exactly. Did I get that question right?
Um, was there any painful experience that bettered what you're doing right now?
I seem to miss out on the last question.
Okay, I said, was there any painful experience that happened that actually bettered what you are currently doing?
Touched my heart. You just touched my heart. So, absolutely, yes. There were a number of painful things that happened when I was quite young, but notable among them was a relationship that I was so passionate about, and I believed was going to end in marriage. Unfortunately, they broke my heart. Okay, so but now on a more serious note, this person was someone that my parent did not really like because they felt that okay, maybe the future was not promising. But there's a way I get to see potentials even in the least persons, and I believe this person was going to become, and I mean become, and I believed so much in this person. People looked up to us, believing that yes, these were two visionaries heading somewhere. Then one day, out of the blues, this person came out and said that I've been struggling to see you as a lover. I actually see you as a sister. You can see that. You can see that I still said those words verbatim. That's how much I can remember those words as long as they were. So I still did macho woman out of that meeting, like it's not a big deal. But then when I got to my room, I cried my eyes out. I can still remember that scenario like yesterday. The floor was soaked with mucus. There was a bleed. You know what it means that you've been loving up on someone that has been struggling to love up on you. Oh my God. So it looked like I've been playing fool on myself, right? So there was that hurt in my heart that felt like I was bleeding, that I knew that it took something supernatural to be able to heal that heart. And right there and there, I don't know how it was done. I just called on God. Of course, I've been a Christian, but something shifted that day. I was just like, God, I need you to heal me. I just knew it was the only one I needed at that point in time. And then he showed me from the scriptures, John 4 particularly, I can't forget the story of the woman beside the well. That woman had seven husbands, and then when she met Jesus, she wanted to start talking about spiritual things. And Jesus was like, I'm interested in your emotional life. I'm interested in your emotions. But she was still trying to say, no, the prophet, a lot of times as women, we cover our faces with makeups, gates, and so many things when we are actually going through tough times. And I heard God telling me, I'm not just interested in your spirituality. I'm interested in your emotional healing. And right there and then, I could feel the embrace of God. There were scriptures that encouraged me. Even though the guy later came back about 2 years after with his strength, begging, he even wrote a book. He even wrote a book about me. I wish I could say yes, but I'm sorry, I had moved on because the emotional trauma that I went through during that time was a lot for me. And thank God, God came to my rescue. And at that point in time, I saw that a lot of people, especially in the fourfold of religion, are going through a lot. But because I'm sorry to say, religion is not giving people that opportunity to say that this is what I am feeling. So everybody just feel, let me go to church. Or let me go to me if it is mosque and let me just pray to God. Nobody's talking about sex in church. Nobody's talking about heartbreak in church. Nobody's talking about trauma in church. Nobody's talking about, all of those things, depression. I heard some of my clients even tell me that somebody tells them that it's because they are not spiritual. That is why they have depression. And I'm like, oh my God. Yes, I do not deny the fact that all of these things have spiritual undertone. But the worst thing you can tell to a person that has, like, I'm using my glasses and you're telling me that because I'm not spiritual, that's why I'm using glasses. Like, really? Okay, so so I knew that so many people were just using religion to cover so many things, and I wanted to help, right? I wanted to help. I didn't want any other person to go through that kind of emotional trauma that I went through. And I can say that that pain was responsible for one of my so much passion for the things of God, showing people that beyond talking about just evangelism, prayer, and word, God is interested in every aspect of your life. And that's also instigated my passion for women, and what brought about Real Ladies Association, Real Ladies Group, and also currently sort out ladies, and of course, clinical psychology.
Oh God. I mean, when you said the guy came back, in my mind, I'm like, he's lost. Reverend Akitayo's gain, man. Reverend Akitayo's gain. So, I mean, aside you being able to run to God, which most Christians are used to, trained to do you have a safe space, or how can one find a safe space? Because most time people want to talk, they want to talk to someone, but they're careful because they don't want their topic to become the next sermon on the pulpit. They don't want it to become the next, let's pray for Sister Motolani kind of, oh, she's going through, oh no, I think the Lord is indirectly kind of exposing the things that you have shared with the person. That's one of the things that I noticed, because as a coach myself, I have a lot of people. One thing I tell my clients and my students is that, see, there are so many things I'm going to go to the grave with that nobody is going to hear, because they trust me enough to tell me that. So I'm going to go to the grave with those things. There is nothing that will make me divulge it. And that's why I have people from different ages, people that you not even expect that will confide in someone like me. So how do we get that safe space to talk? And did you find a safe space, aside when you went to God for healing?
Okay, yes. I would say that I had a number of safe spaces. The major one, honestly, was God. Why? Because I stumbled on what a lot of people really do. As at then, I don't know about now, and I don't know how well the religious society is fronting that, and that's meditation. I found a good safe space in meditation. For example, while I was growing up, there was this saying then from a few people about my nose, that I had a flat nose. In fact, let me shock you. One of the people then looked at me. Maybe after the call, we'll talk about it. You know, Looked at me one day and was just, we were talking in university then, and the person started laughing. So I was asking that, why are you laughing? Then the person said, your nose is flat. Your nose is flat. And I'm like, okay. So meanwhile, as a child, I've laughed if you want to laugh. And so meanwhile, as a child, I've been told to keep pressing my nose like this so that I can be pointed. I've been privileged to speak in a lot of places about body shaming. I went through it and I know what it can be like. So, but I came across that part of the scripture that mentioned the fact that I am beautifully and fearfully made. And I was not just reading, I would lie down, look for the meaning of beautifully. I tell people there are two G's that you need in life: God and Google. I'll go on Google, look for what beautiful means, from admire to pretty. I will put everything in my brain. Then I will go to the fearfully part. So by the time I'm done with that line, I am already inspired and excited. There's nothing you want to tell me about my beauty that I don't know. I will just tell you thank you. I know already. Right? So there were times also that, so the word of God was really my meditation. That was a safe place for me. So it was beyond just praying. I would lie down and think about the scripture, which I think is an act that is being lost. That is lost today. Everybody is busy everywhere trying to, catch money, catch fame, catch friends, catch networks. People are not actually sitting still, you know, and thinking on positive things that can give them that mental health. Now, beyond meditation, I journal. Journaling is a good safe space. Personally, I tell most of my clients, I don't train you on strategies or techniques that I have not used myself as your therapist. So I journal a lot. In fact, my shelf has diaries of when I was 18, and I don't know how some of my administrations recently or speaking engagements, when they are giving me honorarium aside from the cash gift, you just see them pack, diaries for me like they already know I like them. So journaling was actually a good safe space for me. Then I do something also, which is also a safe space, and that's engaging with nature. What do I mean by that? I take a walk. I take a stroll. I allow fresh air breathe on my head. Like I allow the breeze. I look around. I appreciate nature. I do that a lot. I Another one is I take myself out. Time will fail us for me to tell you all my safe spaces, but I've mentioned about four now. The last one I'm mentioning is I take myself out. There are times my husband will come and say, "Where are you?" By the time I start laughing, say, hey, yeah, chicken. Don't let me mention the name of it. I've mentioned it already so that I don't do free adverts for them. So yeah, this place, and it gets to laugh. I don't wait for a man to take me out. It's my safe space, right? It's my peace, it's my mental health, it's my well-being, and these are some of the things that have helped me. Thank you.
My God, I know we have so many things in common, but one of it that we have is this body shaming. I mean, I was told that my voice was too tiny, and then for so many years I kept quiet. I won't talk. Then came my height, then came my trial mark, and then it just went on and on like that. And for years, it was when I went for life coaching, I discovered that I've actually been quiet. Like, I've had low self esteem for almost 20 years. That I discovered that I've always been quiet, always been like some, at the point I was behaving like a tomboy because I felt like I just wanted to express myself. They must, if they don't see the feminine side of me, they must see the tough side of me, kind of thing. And I just relate with all the safe spaces that you share because I mean, I've developed that habit of just once in a month, just take myself out. I journal a lot, to which has actually bettered most of my books. Like my first book was bettered from journaling. My journals, the things I used to write back then from university, was most of the things that I put in the book. And then that's part of that God factor. That God factor is something that we cannot rule out. I mean, it's just, I just can relate, and I know that this is going to make a whole lot of sense to as many people that will be watching this. I want to ask that, was there anybody that actually stood out for you as a mentor for you to go into what you're currently doing today?
Okay, so if I'll answer that question, I'm wearing different caps. So I would also say that just the same way I'm wearing different caps, I'm also having different mentors for different aspects of my life, right? So currently they all have different bag that they belong. But while growing up, I would say that mine was much more about in the multitude of counsel there is safety. So I had a lot of counselors. And when I say counselors, it's not just multitude of counsel, talking about right counsels. I had people that I could go to and say, okay, this is happening. What do you think? Right? Much more than that, I think I had more of models than mentors when I was growing up. I think the mentor part is just coming up in this second part of my life. How would I put it? But in the earlier part of my years, it was more of models. I had models like the Joyce Mayers, you know. I had people, women, Katri Kuhlman, yes. Katri Kuhlman is top notch, for me. Until now, she's still top notch for me, right? So but then right now I have mentors, people that are speaking to my life. I have you want me to mention names? Okay, so I have my husband, yeah, Reverend Ayokono John Akintayo. Yes, he's my number one coach. Is somebody I respect so much. And that was why when I was getting married, I was very, very finicky about who to marry, because I know I am very strong willed. And for strong willed women, you can be strong willed on a wrong thing, right? And not even see it because you are just head on what you want to do. I needed a man that could identify and say, you are not doing this right, you are doing this right. I had a lot of yes guides around me. My husband was the first person that looked at me and said, yeah, I think this is not actually right. I'm like, okay, so where is this one? You've got guts. Until now, it's still providing that leadership. So aside from my husband, I have Pastor Mrs. Dolapo Adelakun of Victory International Chapel. She's one woman that speaks to my heart a lot. I celebrate her for the gift of access. I have mommy. I call them mommy because that's who they had to me. I have mommy Lufunke Adetuberu. Yes, that's another woman that speak into my life. Then I have Coach Tino Smith. For people that have been following me very well, you would have seen a lot of my posts. These are women that are so secured in lifting other women. I tell you, these are women that will do anything to open doors for you, and mention your name in rooms that matter, aside from the fact that they are mentoring you. So others include Dr. Lola Yofashida, Mrs. Jumoke Caxton Martins, and a whole lot of other people that have been wonderful on my journey. And I guess, yes, those are the people that I have that speak into my life. Thank you.
I mean, it's so beautiful to mention names because these are people that they are not faceless, and usually women don't, like, there's this notion that women don't support each other. So
Hmm.
it's just beautiful to be able to mention their names, and we really really celebrate them. You are not a sudden success.
Yes, at all.
You are
I'm a
not.
product of beautiful souls
Yes.
that
So
believed in me, that
uh-huh.
pressed me on in life. That's
Yeah,
just the truth.
yeah.
That's just the
So
truth.
I think I'll do, like, I'll check them out and then follow.
I'll be glad. Thank you.
So I want to ask, next question that is coming to my mind is, how do you help your clients, to go through trauma? Something very practical that anybody listening at home right now can actually just, like a first aid kind of tip, because rape, molestations, body shaming, bullying, these are, I mean, outbreak. So, what are the practical tips that you use that anybody, well, I know it's not everybody that is licensed, which we are going to still talk about. They're still going to tell us how you are able to, the professional part of the UCH, Arrow. These are like big names in the psychological world in Nigeria. I mean, like, and you're there, you're licensed. We're still going to talk about that. But I want us to talk about how you help your client, practical strategies or tips that you use in helping your clients, come out of the weight of trauma.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. And every time people talk about my clients, they are talking about my heart, and that's how much I owe them very dear to me. So one of the tips I would share today is what I said earlier, speak out. Now, I understand that about the fact that people are skeptical about speaking out because of confidentiality sake, and that's why we recommend speaking to professionals. Even when professionals are going to use your story, they would have tweaked so many things in the story when they are using it, and names are always undisclosed. So professionals have sworn oath of loyalty to be confidential with your stories. So when you seek a professional help and speak out, you can be very sure that you are covered. So I've had a lot of people that when they come into therapy, their initial session, which is a clinical interview, a form of clinical assessment that we get to do with them, without having started the treatment plan. The initial session, because they've just onboarded, is usually doing a massive job even before the treatment plan. There was someone I had a time like that. After she used to have social anxiety, after a major diagnosis, health diagnosis. She came for the initial session, you know, and in just speaking out, and I just gave her a little psycho education. I had not even started the treatment plan. The next time she came for session, she told me, she said, this is the first time I'll be leaving my house without a heart palpitation. And then she said, you're a lifesaver. And that's the power of speaking out to the right person. So I would say, number one, please speak. And that's why the Englishman will say that a problem shared is half solved, right? So having spoken about speaking out, another thing that is very, very important is have a life mantra. I say this a lot. What is a life mantra? It's like a word, a statement that comes to you readily in the face of life challenges. For example, you hear some people say it is well, right? It could be a life mantra. I hear of a woman that whenever anything happens to her, she will say it could have been worse. Anything that happens, she will say it could have been worse. And then I look at that statement. In actual sense, whatever you are going through right now, even for our audience that are watching us, whatever you're going through, it can actually even be worse than what you're current. So we are not negating the fact that what you're going through is really a tough one, but let's look at it in retrospect. It can actually be worse. So when you have a life mantra that you can easily fall back on, when events happen, it helps a lot. Then we talk about, of course, there are integral strategies that we use in therapy, but like my host said, I'm just trying to pick out first aid that we can do. Positive thinking. You cannot, I can't overemphasize positive thinking, because already the problems in life are enough to set you ablaze. Thinking about them negatively is making the situation worse. For example, let's take for example the person that said my nose is big or my nose is flat, right? If I begin to think like, oh, I have a bad nose, how do you think I will feel? I'll feel low. I have no self-esteem. Most likely, maybe when you meet me, this is what I'll be doing every time. And you will start describing with that auntie that used to hold her nose. Meanwhile, you don't know what I'm holding my nose for, right? So, I will start feeling low, feeling sad. But if I am thinking, I don't care what anybody sees, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's positive statements, because research has revealed to us that it is our thinking that gives birth to our feeling. So if we can replace our thinking, we can actually replace our feeling. So if I can replace it with a more positive thought that it doesn't care what that person says, I am beautiful just the way I am. And guess what? To say that my nose is even one of the things that my husband loves about me. Yet, so imagine if I had killed myself over a nose. And of course, by the time you start thinking like that, it boosts your self-confidence, the feeling changes, and you're able to help yourself. So positive thinking, and every other thing that I mentioned earlier. Don't forget what we said earlier about taking yourself out. Please. Some people, when they collect their check, what do they call it now? Paycheck. You take care of wife, take care of children, take care of grandma, take care of grandpa. I salute you. We'll say President General. Yeah, I understand. You are among the nation. You are doing well, no doubt, and kudos to you. But this is what I'm saying. You see, if anything happens to you, all those people, they will move on. Somebody once said something, said the most scary thing about life is that when we die, life continues as if you were never in it. So as much as we give you kudos for all that you are doing, I really appreciate your responsibility. We want to plead with you. Take care of yourself. Please take care. Sometimes I tell some of my clients, when you go to places, sometimes you don't even need to buy what they are selling there to do window shopping or sightseeing. Just change the environment, look around, give yourself that breathing space. You deserve it. One life to live, oh, one life to live. There's no two lives. So this one life, enjoy it. Hmm? And I tell people, most times the active years of our lives, maybe by 60, 70, yeah, coming inactive. Your age now minus it from 60. Oh yeah, do the mathematics. So how many years remain? So do you see? So by the time you look at life in it, by the time you are calculating, if you are in your 30s and you're looking at me, that's you have like 20 something years. That's if it's even up to 20 something years. If you're in your 40s, you have like maybe 18 years. So 18 years, why don't you make the most of it?
Whew. I knew that I was expecting something deep, right? But I didn't see this coming. I didn't see this coming. I'll just leave it at that. Walk us through how you were able to get your license. I mean, like your UCH, the Arrow journey, and what you're currently doing as a clinical psychologist. I was even thinking, did I even ask what a clinical psychologist is? Because so that I don't assume that my audience actually understand this part. I think I should have just mentioned that earlier. So just through your professional journey from the certifications to what you currently do, what clinical psychology is, any newbies coming into the business, what are they supposed to get to be able to practice?
Okay, so thank you very much. A clinical psychologist is a member of the mental health team that comprises of the psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is a doctor that specializes in helping people with mental health issue. A clinical psychologist is a psychologist that specializes in helping people with mental health issue. Of course, you have the psychiatric nurse, you have the social worker, and a host of other people on that mental health team. So, a clinical psychologist actually helps people handle mental health issue vis-a-vis life challenges to be able to cope with any difficulties coming from marital, I was in a place speaking yesterday, and when I was invited to speak, the person that was introducing me, MC's play now, said, everybody, so let's pray that we will not go mad, oh. So when I got up on the podium, that was the first thing I had to correct. Because when people hear about mental health, the next thing they think about is mad people. Hey, mental health is not about mad people, please. So, according to there's something we call DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual. You see, it contains the spectrum of what we call diagnosis under mental health, and under it we have depression. A person does not need to be on the street to have depression. A person can be going to a 9 to 5 job and be depressed and have major depressive disorder. It doesn't mean the person is mad. A person can have anxiety issues. That's anxiety disorders. It could be panic attack. It could be excessive fear and worries. All those things are under mental health, and it doesn't mean that the person is necessarily mad. We have substance use issues. People that use that make use of substance like the Scoochie, like the loud, and the rest of them. We have sexual disorders, right? So a person can be working with you in your office and he has a mental health problem, and the diagnosis is actually in the format of sexual disorder. He has mental health, but he's not mad, right? So that's why we have people that come in for couples therapy, because marital issues, maybe a person is a product of domestic violence, rape issues, can predispose the person to traumatic events, right? Which we call maybe PTSD, yes, post traumatic stress disorder, and the rest of them. So it's very, very important to mention that. Having said that, so a clinical psychologist help with mental health and life difficulties. We have people that come into our facility to do assessment, personality assessment, to test if they are personal. Sometimes some of them do it for marital cases. Are we compatible? Some do it for career purposes. They want to check if this job is right for me. So you see that it's not necessarily about is the severe cases when we now have psychosis, a person is hallucinating or a person is having delusion. That means seeing things in clear consciousness that other people are not seeing, or hearing voices. That is when you can now start talking about psychosis. And it doesn't even mean that the person is mad in that context. And I tell you that there are interventions to this thing. And that's one of the things I'm excited to do every time. To let people know that mental health does not mean the end of the world. When you have a problem with your eyes, who do you see? You see an optician. When you're pregnant and you want to see a doctor, you see a gynecologist. These things are part of the body. The same way the eyes, the armpits, everywhere, they have special doctors that treat them. The same way the brain is a part of the body and it can get sickly, just like the eyes. The same way the mind is a part of the body and it can get sickly. And when it gets sickly, you can't expect that I have a problem with, maybe I have a problem with my eye and I'm running to Imam or I'm running to Pastor that give me glasses. You go to opticians. I wonder why your brain will be having an issue or your mind is going having an issue. I've had clients that they will say they've gone to mountain, they have beaten their family member, beaten their family to send the thing out of them. And they will come to the facility. They will get, if it's psychotherapy, they do psychotherapy, maybe in conjunction with pharmacology, which is injection and drugs. And they are shocked that their people are doing fine. So that is what clinical psychology is all about. Now, having mentioned that, so how did I come into this field? So I had my first degree in philosophy. My beautiful host here is aware of that. And so I'm sure that's why she's very inquisitive. So where did the clinical psychology come from? So like I said earlier, I've always been very eager about helping people right from when I was young. So even though I was running non-governmental organization as an undergraduate, I was gradually looking forward to that profession that I can help people and still be able to pay my bills. So I was doing all of those surfing. Then I met someone who told me that okay, you want to help people and you want to pay your bills. There's only one what's it called? One profession that can help you do that. I said, okay, so what's the profession? I said HR. So I carried my bag immediately after my final exam and ran to the Lagos part of Nigeria to start doing HR. Actually, I started out as an intern, long story cut short, and I was doing very well in the field in Lagos. But at some point, the thing was not really eating me very well. Why? Because I was more interested in the emotional aspects of my employees. Like I always want them to tell me their pain, but then I discovered I was firing my friends, right? Like, and the truth is, because I am standing in between the firm and the employees, even when you're my friend, I can't tell you that they want to sack you. So at the end of the day, when you see the sack letter from me, you're like, but Olani, but we just discussed 5 minutes ago, and you never told me this. But my job, you know, would not permit me to do that. And beyond that, it wasn't just eating. So I said, well, let me just continue this. I came to the University of Ibadan then to pick up organizational psychology, which is at par with HR. So in the midst of doing that, they now mentioned that there are different aspects of organization of psychology, and they mentioned clinical psychology. And I said, okay, so what's clinical psychology? And immediately they said it. I'm saying, oh, this is me. This is me. Like this is me. And it was a tough one because I didn't have a background in psychology, and you need to have a background in psychology to do clinical psychology. So it was really, really a tough one. So the university puts me on a hot seat, but thank God I finished as one of the best 10 in my first degree, right, out of about 100 students. So that gave me a little leverage. Okay, but that's your brain will not bring you here. You have to go and do use of English, and let us be very sure you have that brain. So I did that, and again I aced that exam, and they said no, that is not sufficient for you to come inside. You have to sit with those that did 400, like who graduated from psychology. You would do the same exam they sit, the entrance exam they do to enter into clinical psychology. And then if you pass that one, we can now decide to consider you. We cannot decide to consider you. And that was when I prayed like I was not going to read, and I read like I was not going to pray. I had tutorials, I was going left and right. Within 3 months, I had to do a lot. And guess what? My name came out number 3 on the merit list. I think, and when my name came out number 3 on the merit list, like I said, they had to make us take courses from 100 level to 100 level up until even with my masters. That was a tough one. But guess what? I finished with a PhD grade again. I finished with a distinction. All right. So, but then, sincerely, I won't deny the fact that as much as I'm grateful for that result, I can't underestimate or overemphasize the place of God in all of this factor, because I can remember that there was a particular time that was getting so tough for me, and I kept praying, and God gave me that analogy that every children of Israel, whenever they get to a strange land, they were always making a difference. Don't mind the Goliath there. You are possessing the place. And that was the word that held me all through, And then, of course, as part of our procedure in learning, we needed to, after our courses, we needed to intern with neuropsychiatric hospital Arrow as it's a prerequisite, and University College Hospital UCH Ibadan. And I tell you that Arrow gave me a different. Arrow was where I saw that my passion can become money, right? I saw people that I have been helping and have been at no cost, right? Coming and also in UCH, I guess UCH was one of the places I met my boss, and I tell you, it was a turning point for me. I saw a person who was not just working as a clinical psychologist, but who was passionate about what he was doing, and not just that, who has a global perspective to his operation. I've always been very keen on global perspective of practice. Yeah, so he has that, and that was what made me stay glued to him. And even after working there, I had to volunteer with his what's it called, with his private practice. I started as a volunteer, and I want to thank God that through dedication and commitment, from being a volunteer, I rose to the position of an ad hoc staff, from an ad hoc staff to a staff, till I became the managing director of the firm. Okay, so and from there, it has been from one level to another. I've been featured on several TV stations. I've been both international and locally, and of course, I should let people know that it's not a hard and fast rule like that, because I had to go back to do my first degree in psychology. Yeah, I had to go back to, even after having a master's. So you need to have your first degree in psychology, your before you can do your master's in clinical psychology, and then you proceed to PhD. I'm currently a doctoral student. My PhD in view in the practice. So I guess that's about my clinical psychology journey.
Hell, it's when you see somebody that is passionate about what they want in life, it becomes very easy for them to cross the hurdles and just go through the rigorosity of achieving what they want. I remember I wanted to also become an HR because somehow sanguines think that because they are people person they can become HR. And then I went to Coach Bim backing, and he gave me this book of HR, very big, and she just said, go and read it. If after you're done with this book you still want to become an HR, then you can come back. And then I went, I didn't even go up. Immediately I got to the statistics part, I just called her, I said, Ma, I think I I said, Ma, I think I am not cut out for this. She said, I knew it from beginning actually. I just wanted you to go and really be sure what you wanted to do. I think that was the turning point for me in actually knowing that, oh, yeah, I may be a sign that I love to talk and help people, but I'm not called to HR. I'm actually called to coaching, which is where I'm functioning effortlessly, something I can do. So I get the fact that when we really want something, we go all out for it, and nobody is a sudden success, actually. Nobody's a sudden success. So much for that. I want to wrap this section up with, can you talk to us about your MC job, your book, and how do you come about the Real Lady community?
Okay, thank you very much. So, funny enough, my MC, I've actually been doing MC for from way back. I can remember as far back as 200 level. So that should be like how many years now? More than 13 years. More than 13, if I'm not even underestimating the years, right? So, but for time's sake, I don't want to start doing mathematics now, right? So, however, I was doing it as, just the way I started out with clinical psychology. I was just enjoying it, right? So, but then when I moved to another part of the country, some people seem to fish out that skill in me. And there is this constant program that was sponsored by Google for women. And somehow, one of the top-notch women in that circle, I would definitely mention her name, because I appreciate her a lot, and I do not take what she has done in my life for granted. With the name Mommy again. Mommy Peju. You can say I have a lot of mommies in my life. So Mommy Peju Babalola, she's currently the wife to Engineer Femi Babalola of Jogo Center in Ibadan. Yes, in Ibadan, Nigeria. And and she just spotted me that time, and then she just said, "No, you have to be our constant MC for our event." And so I was doing it at no cost. I was just enjoying the platform. There will be hundreds of women in that meeting, and that was when I started becoming a face in the city, and I did not know. And before I knew it, some people will reach out and say, there was this lady that anchored the meeting, please can we get her? I need her to anchor my meeting. And that was how it started. And at a point when it started little, some people will pay 20,000 naira for like maybe 1 hour session that I MC. I called my husband one day. I said, are you sure I'm going to do clinical psychology again? you know but then the truth is, the passion for clinical psychology is still there, but this was another talent that was actually bringing money to my table, right? And I loved it. I was doing it effortlessly. So I said, okay. Meanwhile, while I was doing clinical psychology, I should mention that the money did not start coming right away in clinical psychology. I tell you, there were days that I had to pay my bills. So sometimes when I have some of our newbies come to me, "Ma, we want to be on radio like you. We want to be on TV like you. We want to be in this place." And I'm like, I didn't get there in one day. I've paid my dues. And I'm still paying, because we are going to keep paying the dues, because we want to keep growing, we want to keep learning, and we want to keep impacting life. So it's not there were I can't say some stories. I can't say some stories here, but I paid my dues, right? So in those times when clinical psychology was not paying yet, MC was a go-to place for me, I tell you. So it was that niche that God just carved for me to pay my bills while I was growing up in my career as a clinical psychologist. Of course, at a point, and now this is where the meeting point is. I discovered that when I was emceeing events, for me, because I'm so passionate about people being fine, people being happy, and people being fulfilled, it was also the focal point of any event that I anchor. No, it was an opportunity for me to put smile on someone's face. For me, when I'm emceeing an event, it's beyond the money anybody is paying. It's about my guests. If they have been having a problem before they come for that event, they will forget that problem and most likely drop it. That's my goal. And that's why I say, for me, events is therapeutic. I tell people event has a life. Recently, a school that I usually stand in as their MC called me, and I was already booked for their day this year. And I said I won't be available. I've been booked already in another part of the state. And the person sent me messages that she told the teachers they were all sad, that no, they want her, and all that. I give credence to God for that, but I can tell you that that is driven by the passion to help life. So for me, MC Motolani, the clinical psychologist, is not just because I want to brand. It's not just everything is helping lives. Everything is, blessing people. Everything is putting smile on someone's face. You know, everything is when I hold the mic and I speak, lives are transformed. And so when I get the feedback, whether from events or from mental health speaking engagement, I am not surprised, because one, grace is speaking. I pray for my clients. I pray for my clients. One, grace is speaking. Two, we have paid the dues. We have learned. This our head, eh? It has read book. So and we are still learning, and we are paying our dues. I should
Wow.
mention also that there were times that I did MC for free. Now,
Mm,
I know
mm.
they do MC for free again. But some people just want to make it big in one day. Please, it's not like that. You need to pay it forward. There were times that I had to, do it for people for the sake of relationship. If you don't have a platform, nobody is going to see you. So if people are calling you and giving you the platform from the outset, appreciate it. Then from the platform, you discover that much more, are coming from there. There are times that some people invite me and I do it for the sake of impact. And they're like, wow, Ma, we are so grateful. Thank you for your selflessness. And I tell you them, even if I'm not collecting anything here from this meeting, I can have somebody that will pay me hundreds, millions, and it has happened for me like that. So at the end of the day, money is important, bills are important because we need to pay bills. But beyond that, impact is very important.
Thank you so much. But that was I wanted to know more about your books, and then the real group, or the real ladies group, I think,
Okay, all right.
community.
So
Yeah.
I've written three books. I've written When the Government Was a Virgin, and that was when the government needed a virgin. Sorry, when the government needed a virgin, and that was born out of my desire to see virgins. Now, virgins not just technically in terms of sexuality, but virgins in every aspect. Talk about spiritual virgins. I'm sorry, there are some people that are in ministry today or in religious setting today, but they are better off not being there. They are using people, they are manipulating people, and they are making people to distrust the system. So, talk about virgins in terms of finances. You are in the finance sector and you're not embezzling funds. That's what I mean by virgins. Then, and of course, talk about every other aspect of life. So, when the government needs a virgin, it was born from that passion. At a point in time, I got married as a virgin anyway, not because I have extra macho running in my blood. I have blood in my veins too, right? But there were certain things that really helped us to be able to stand our ground, even though they were very big temptations. My husband tends to tell me some things now that, are you sure you are born again? Ah, and I married you as a virgin. I tell him, do you think virgins don't have emotion? We have emotions too, but it's just that we have learned to pipe down our emotions, and keep it. So by the time we now enter marriage, the thing is, oh, it has full cooler. We now pour it. Don't mind me. So, but that was the brain behind when government. I wanted people to see that we can still have virgins in all the sense of it. And then I crisscrossed it with when God really needed to get someone to give birth to Jesus, and it was a virgin that was picked when the king needed to pick someone, in the times of Esther, and they had to gather virgins also. So that was when the government needed a virgin. I've written Alayo, choosing your man, enjoying your marriage. So of course I'm not going to spill all that is inside that book. It's one book that you also have to get. All right, thank you so much for giving me the platform to talk about my books. I was even thinking about that in the first place. Okay, so Alayo talks about how I've been able to, make my marriage work in the face of all of the challenges, because marriage definitely comes with its own challenges. Also, that's another talk for another day, right? So how I was able to choose my man, because there's a lot of story about my man also. All right, so we have 17 years difference. It's going to be 50 years in a few days, right? So people tend to, we've had a lot of talk show on TV about that, so people tend to ask a lot of questions how I'm able to manage that kind of family. So it was about choosing your man and then staying to enjoy your marriage. My third book is I'm trying to remember now. Yes, don't lose it. Don't lose it. Yes, and that really speaks to the art of mental health, right? How people, I looked at the perspective of some of my clients, and of course keeping confidentiality at bay and tweaking a lot of stories, but to be able to help people resonate with overcoming life challenges. So that's that about my books. Talking about Real Ladies, yeah, I started Real Ladies when I was 16. So for people that don't know what Real Ladies is, so Real Ladies, thank you, Sir Medina, for taking me back the lane. So Real Ladies was a non-governmental organization that I ran when I was an undergraduate in University of Ibadan, Nigeria. I had Real Ladies I was registered, it was registered in University of Ibadan as an association. So it was in University of Ibadan, and it was also in Ogun State University. That's Osu, yes. So even as a student, I was crisscrossing Ibadan and Ogun together. I don't even understand how I came out with my result and how I graduated as one of the best 10. But I still did it, and it was born out of. I had a lot of friends, Sister Medinat, then, who were either raped. I had a lot of guys that would tell me, Motolani, you are independent, you are different from every other kind of girl, you are this. I appreciate them for all of those comments. But I believe that there were more women out there that if they had the kind of opportunity that I had in terms of exposure to knowledge, certain kind of backgrounds, they might not even be doing the things that they are doing now. So I had someone who was raped by Robert when she was 6 years of age, you know, and you had someone who was raped by 7 guys at the age of 16, and someone who met her mom into prostitution. While I'm not giving excuses for these people, I believe that some of the things that some of these ladies were doing as at that time were a product of where they were coming from. So it was not about me, it was about if they were exposed to better information, they would do better. So you are saying that she's carrying aristo, she's collecting money from men, she's lousy in class, she is this and that. But are you asking yourself, where is she coming from? And that was what brought about Real Ladies in UI and in Osu. And of course, we ran it for a time. And right now, it's now sought out ladies. And let me tell you the gist why it changed. Because while I was running Real Ladies, hey, it's Real Ladies that I'm running, NGO. Some women will come to me and tell me that somebody is trying to initiate them into marine spirit. I'm like, hey, which one is marine spirit? It's non-governmental we are doing. I have no business with the spirit. I was a Christian, right? But I was not so much of a spiritual. I didn't want all those spiritual gymnastics. I just wanted to help people and live my life. But then my case was like the case of Moses that, see, come, this is your assignment. You have to do it. And, Soul is actually, that's not how ladies is actually a rebranding of Real Ladies. It's actually still Real Ladies, but now it's coming back better with a backing of God in it. We understand the place of spirituality. We understand the place of God really helping our women to become all that they want to be. I hope I've been able to do justice to that.
But I I will say that with these few points of mine, probably my last question, like, what does boldness mean to you? I love this question because of the title of our conversation.
That you are not allowing anyone to silence you. You are not allowing any situation to define you. You are not allowing any circumstance to defeat that voice that is inside you that believes that you can make it. That is what boldness is.
And it came with so much power. So that is the end of the exclusive conversation. I like this fun part that is coming up, which is this or that. We want to know a little bit outside the serious Mutolani. So I'll just go to this or that. You pick a question from number 1 to 10. You're picking 4 questions.
1 to 10. Okay, so I'll pick God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. 1, 2, 3. Then I'll back it up with myself, number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so question one. Question one says therapy section or public speaking.
Told my secretary this afternoon. Public speaking.
Okay, this or that. Question two, quiet retreat or girls hangout.
Quiet retreat.
All right. Question three, tea with a journal or coffee with a to-do list.
Tea with a journal or coffee with it. I'm a serious person. So let me choose that journal because that to-do list, I do that one every time. So let me choose journal so that I can relax.
Okay. The last question, clinical notes or creative writing.
That one is tough. Clinical notes. Clinical notes will give me money. Creative writing. I'm the only one that will see that one. Or maybe, and sometimes, creativity will win the world. I will pick creative writing. Though sometimes it does magic. I'll pick creative writing.
All right. So this section is always very interesting, and thank you so much for being so honest. As we wrap up, what will you tell your younger self?
My younger self, don't let anyone silence you. Believe in yourself. Talent is not enough. Ensure you are always within the right network and move your move, no matter how much you can. Let nothing, no one stop you. That's what I would tell
Wow.
myself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really, really, I know this section was going to be a different section entirely because there's no how you talk to a psychology and we're having some rethink. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. How do we connect with you?
Okay, all right. So my name is Motolani Akintayo on all my social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm very active on those ones, and LinkedIn also.
Hmm.
Motolani Akintayo everywhere. Motolani Akintayo. However, you can also slide into my DM or my WhatsApp. Just WhatsApp. It doesn't answer for calls. Just WhatsApp, and I can do a very good one for you if you can add that from MOB,
How
right?
come?
From Bold Conversation with Medinat Oyedele, I can assure that your message will be given a priority. So my WhatsApp number is 08094749281. Because we have a global audience, it's important that I put a code, which is the
Yeah.
Nigerian code. So you do +234 +234 809 474 9281.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. It's been another interesting episode on Board Conversation with me, Medinat Oyedele, where real people come in to talk about extraordinary journey and extraordinary things that they are doing. Till I bring again another board personality, like Mutalani Akintayo. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe and please do well to share this with a friend. Thank you and bye for now.